Welcome to today's class. Today we are going to start with the topic called ethnography. Okay, mostly I don't know you people have heard about this word or not. So now let's see what is the meaning of your ethnography and how this technique is going to be useful. So this is a technique, you can say it is a technique for the observation, which is used to understand the social and organizational requirements. Because in the last class we have seen how we are going to gather the requirements. So in this class we are going to see how ethnography is going to be a technique which is going to be very useful for our requirement gathering. So it is a technique which is going to use to understand the social and organizational requirements. So, and also you can say that the system analyst, they can imagine himself as a part of working environment in which the system is going to be used. So these kind of things are going to be utilized for your ethnographic studies. And also you can see here, as I have written some points, the first point says that a social scientist spends some considerable time for observing and analyzing the people, how actually they are working. So in this case, what you are going to do? Only ethnography means you are going to observe the people, what is their expectations, how they are going to work, and on that basis you can gather your requirements. And also the people don't have the to explain or articulate for their work. The people, those who are there and for whom you are going to observe, they should not articulate their work. They should not explain you that what is my work. That is your work, that you are going to observe them and you have to gather the requirements. And how we can do the major thing is here we can do through the social medias or some organizational through some organizational factors. All these things will be very important to observe how the people are working. And also you can say that people actually understand their own work, but they don't understand the relationship of that work with the organization, how they are going to do it. That's the reason ethnographic technique is a technique where the requirements can be exposed. Okay. And also if I will consider about the system analyst, what actually the system analyst will do, he will imagine himself that he is a part of the working environment, okay, where the system is going to be utilized. So then he has to observe the day by day activities and he has to note down all the needs and tasks whatever is required by the organization. Then the analyst has to find some implicit requirements of the system. So what will happen? First he has to observe, then he is going to find out some implicit requirements. So in this way, these ethnographic studies will be working out, and if they will be having some more richer or some complex models, that can be made it as your very simple system models. Moving towards your next slide, you can see here the scope of ethnography. What is the scope there? How we are going to work out? The requirements that are derived from the way that people actually work rather than the way which process definitions suggest that they ought to work. It means that some of the people will be there in the companies, they will show that they are working, but actually they will not be working. Okay, so that kind of people also the system analyst is going to observe and to find out that actually what kind of people are going to work. So along with that, he has to define the processes and he is going to gather the requirements. Then the next one is like the requirements that are derived from cooperation and awareness of other people's activities. It means that some people will be there, those are going to see the other people and they are going to do. So we should cooperate that kind of people and we should aware that you have to do the work or activities in this way. Then only we can gather some of the informations and we can work into that. Okay. And also this kind of requirements which is derived from the cooperation and the awareness of other people's activities, it is a kind of your scope. Okay. And also whatever I told you here, I want to give you one more example also. Suppose in Microsoft Word, spell check facility should be embedded in the editor. It has to be there. So that what will happen, whenever we will type any kind of mistake, if it will happen, then it will also says that the spelling mistake. So what that editor has done, it's going to show you that the errors. So the requirement here is you have to embed the inside the editor the grammatical mistake or spelling mistake, something like that. So that is a scope of your softwares. When you will develop the softwares, what kind of requirements, how you are going to gather the requirements. If you have already utilized your MS Word, then you know that this kind of problems may occur in the future. So what you are going to do, you have to observe that kind of mistakes, and you have to find out the mistake, and then whenever you will develop the like any kind of your software, that time you have to find all these things, and you are going to embed it all these activities inside your process. So that kind of things, some people will be there who can observe and do. So that is also comes under your scope of ethnography. So moving towards the next one, where we are going to focus this ethnography, because this ethnography question can come for your 4 or 6 marks of question, or maybe it can come for your 10 marks of question if it will include with the scenario concept. Then it can be your 10 marks of questions. So this kind of question already came in January, like some 2016, 2017 also it came. You can see the question paper. So now let's discuss about the focused ethnography, how this we are going to focus on this ethnography. It is developed in a project studying the air traffic control process. What is this now air traffic control process? You can see that I have given you one example where by using this Microsoft Word, you're going to embed some of the things in your editor. So that is nothing but your kind of one control you have done with your project, that in this way your process should go. So that is nothing but your air traffic control process, where you can study some of the mistakes or something, and you are going to prototype all these things. So now next point is, it combines ethnography with the prototyping. It means that prototyping in the sense you should find out some rules. So through that rules, you have to combine this observation this fraternity, and you are going to work into that. The next point is prototype development results in unanswered questions which focus the ethnographic analysis. It means that some of the things will be happening which the questions will be unanswered. You know the problem, but you don't know the solutions. That time what you are going to do, you have to find out you have to analyze on the question, and you have to find out some process where you can solve the question. So that has to be focused on your ethnographic analysis side. The next one will be, the problem with ethnography is that it studies existing practice, but it is having some historical basis which is no longer relevant. It means that suppose already one project is existing, you are going to reutilize the concept or some modules. What you are going to do? What is the basic problem with the ethnography? It will study the existing practice, but some of the history, some of the problems will be there which has not been solved yet. So that is which is not related also for today's work. But what it will do, it will give you that data also, where it will create some of the problems. So that is nothing but your focus, how you are going to focus on your ethnography. So here we should not focus on the history of the existing practice. We should focus on the present, how we are going to solve the any kind of problems. So in this way, this technique is very much of useful. There is a diagram also there. You can see here how you are going to focus ethnography and prototyping for requirements analysis. You can see the diagram here. Ethnographic analysis, debriefing meetings, then focused ethnography. Once all these things will be done, you can evaluate your prototype. And by the time, what will happen, some generic system development will be there, where you are going to find out that you are going for the system typing. So all these things can be a kind of your spiral model. So now you can ask that, well, how this is actually going to work out. I'll give you the simple example. Like if I want to find out the requirements from the working style of a people, how I'm going to find it out. suppose some of the requirements are there which has been identified from some sequence of actions, okay, that some users are going to perform. So how we are going to do? Let's take one example like one ATM system. Okay, so what is happening in your ATM system? When the users will enter the PIN, then what will happen? The card, first it will go for the validation of the card, that the card is existing or not. The PIN, whatever we have entered, that is also exist or not. Once all these things validation will over, then, and one more thing also, until unless this validation will not be done, you cannot process your transactions. Okay, so it will not allow you to process the transaction. It means that you should require a valid card with valid PIN, the whatever you are going to insert to get the money, the transactions. Okay, so that is the requirements. That is the first requirement. What we got the requirement? We observed that the valid card and valid PIN number is required to go for the like some of the analysis. So here what we are going to do? We should have this requirement. If you don't have this requirement, you cannot withdraw the money from the ATM. So this is just an idea how this requirement analysis is working out. One more thing also is there, like suppose some requirements are there which has been obtained from your some of the interactivities by the people. Okay, how it is going to work out? Sometimes you can find out that like in the social requirements of the other activities, some people's other activities, you know already. Okay, so suppose as an example, I can say that in ATM system, the operator cannot shut down the system if someone is transacting, right? If someone is some transaction, if it is going on, then the operator cannot shut down the system. Why it is happening? Because this is interrelated activities between the like customer and between the operator. So it means that that is also one kind of your ethnography which has been already observed, that this requirement should be there. So in that way you have to use these words, keywords. You have to focus on your ethnography. When I inserted the card and validation for my PIN code, that time it was under your prototype evaluations. Okay, if there is some rule which is going to be evaluated, validated, all these things. And focused ethnography, where it has been worked, when the system has been observed that once a transaction or once the validation is not done, we cannot proceed for the transactions. So this kind of ethnography prototyping is required to analyze any kind of your requirement gathering. So this is all about your ethnography. Now the next topic is your requirement specification. So now let's see how the requirement specification, which also comes under your requirement engineering process. This is one more stage. And what is the meaning of your requirement specification? The process of writing down the user and system requirements in a requirement documentations. The down spelling is wrong here. Please ignore that. The process of writing down the user and the system requirements. So what is happening actually here? Whatever the process will be there to make it as a documentation. So that time we have to write, we have to specify all the like process for the user or for the system requirements on a diary. So that is your requirement documentations. So one more thing is also there. This is the specification of the system, and it should include the definition also and the specification of the requirement also. Both the things it is going to be written. And also it is not a design document. It has to be the proper documentation. You have to write the step by step all the requirements and all these things. Like as far as possible, it should be a set of what the system should do rather than how it will do. It has to be mainly focus on your what the system is going to do in the future. Okay, so that is the meaning of your first point. Coming to the next point, the user requirements have to understand by end users and the customers who do not have a technical background. So what will happen in this case? So all the requirements, whenever we are writing down for the customers, that is known as your user requirements. Okay, so these user requirements, or everything has to be understandable. If suppose one person is not having the technical background, So it should be written in such a way that it has to be understandable by all the customers. Coming to the next point, this is about the user requirements. I told you that this is the combination of your user requirements and the system requirements. So this is about the user requirements. What about the system requirements? So for the system requirements, it should have the technical informations. If it will not have the technical informations, then the system will not understand really what we are going to do, because mainly we have to focus on our what the system is going to do. And these requirements may be the part of your contract for the system development. When we will develop the system, that time this system requirements, it is a part. It is a part of system development. It is a major part of the system development. So how it is going to how it is going to work out? It is therefore important that these are as complete as possible. Everything has to be possible. Everything has to be completed. So what are the ways are there how we are going to write the system requirements? We know that we have to make it as a documentation, but how we are going to write all these things? What will be there? So the first notations will be the natural language. Okay. So these requirements are written using the numbered sentence, like bullet wise you are going to write, and each sentence should have express one requirement. You should not write any kind of stories. You should write that the bullet point, you should use the bullet points, and you should express only one requirement with the bullet points or numbered sentence. Next one is your structured natural language. What is the meaning of structured natural language? You should use the proper natural language, which will be in a term, or it will be in a standard form of your template, and each field will be giving you the informations about the requirement, and you have to notify all the requirement in such a way that it will be in a structured way. Okay, what is the next one? The design description language. What is the design description language? This approach, it uses a language which is also known as your programming language, because I told you that whenever we are going to develop any kind of your project, we should have the knowledge on our programming language, so that what will happen, if any kind of technical persons are going to utilize, they can understand this language properly. And also with some of the abstract features, it has to specify some of the requirements by defining an operational model of the system. It is going to define the operational model of the system. And normally this kind of operational model, it is known as it will give you the interface specifications when we are going to note it down. The next one will be your graphical notations. You should have some models, you should have some text annotations, you should have some UML use cases. We will see this UML use case, how we are going to use. You should have some sequence diagrams, because as we know that even if you are going to write down something, if you will make it as everything in a diagrammatic way, then definitely the customer can understand what is the requirement, how we are going to do, and is it matching with their requirements or not. So everything should have the diagrammatical way. That is nothing but that is also one way of writing your system requirements, which is also known as your graphical notations. One more is there your mathematical specifications. What you are going to do, if you have some specification, unambiguous specification, which will have very much of ambiguity requirement documents, and people cannot understand it in a very formal way. So what you are going to do, you have to express this in a mathematics way, in a algorithmic way, or in a formulative way, so that what will happen, that the system, as we are developing the project for the system, it is going to be utilized for the system. So everything, it will not be under system contract. It will accept all these variety of system contracts, like small modules in an algorithmic way, it is going to accept. So these are some of the various notations which is going to be the to write the ways of writing for the system requirements. Moving to the next slide, you can see here, this is known as your requirements and design. All these points are coming under your requirement specification. What is that now? In principle, requirement should state what the system should do, and the design should be described how it is going to be worked out. So actually what happened? I didn't understand this meaning only totally. What is actually it's saying? We should see here. the requirements and the design are inseparable. It means that both the things are different. You have some requirements. When you will put all these requirements in an architectural way or in a diagrammatical way, so that time it will have some structure of the requirements. It will we can understand, the blind people can understand how the system architecture has been designed. So that's the reason the requirement and the design always it will be inverse or inseparable. And you can say here also the system may interoperate with other system that generate the design requirements. Some of the system will be there. Suppose if you are giving your requirements, it will give you in your diagrammatically way. So it will generate your requirements. That is also possible in this requirement and design. And one more thing is, it will have some non-functional requirements which is not useful, but it will be useful for your domain requirements when you are going to design the domain, that on which domain you are going to work out. So this kind of your non-functional requirements will be going to work out for your specific architectures. And also here you can see this may be the consequence of a regulatory requirements. What is this now? How we are going to utilize this? So why? Because it will describe like all the general requirements, whatever will be there, it will regulate that after which requirement, the next requirement should be what we should work out. So that is known as your regulatory requirements. It will regularize all the requirements in a very structured way manner or in a very diagrammatical manner, so that the like people can understand how they are going to work out. Now next you can see here the natural language specifications. Now as I told you that the natural language specification is nothing but you have to supplement with some diagrams or tables. If you will put your requirements in the form of your diagrams or tables, then it will be very easy to understand the requirements. And also the it will be used for the writing requirements because it is very expressive, intuitive and universal. If you will put everything in a diagrammatical way or table way, then definitely the people will understand, and it will be very interactive to understand by the user and also by the customer. Because finally, in the final day, the customer should know that as per their requirements, the work has been done or not. Okay, that's the reason whatever it will be there in the diagrammatical way, it has to be understood by the users and by the customers. Now there are some guidelines are there for writing the requirements. What are the guidelines? It should be in a standard format, and also it will be useful for all the requirements. It should have the language in a consistent way, so that if any kind of mandatory requirements will come, it should have the solution for that requirements. Desirable requirements should be provided. And the text has to be highlighted so that we can identify all the parts of the requirement. And it should avoid the use of computer jargon, that strong words or some difficult words it should avoid, so that it will be very people like friendly manner we should use all the text. And also it will include the explanations why you want these requirements. So these are some of the guidelines for writing the requirements. Now what will happen, what will really used to happen with the natural language? Okay, there are three things. The major thing will be lack of clarity. If there will be no clarity, then it will be very difficult to find out the documents. Then the next one will be requirement confusion, and in this the functional and the non-functional requirements, it will be mixed up. So what will happen in this case? The confusion will come, really which one is necessary and which one is not necessary. Then the next one is requirements amalgamations. What is the meaning of this? It will have the variety different requirements which will express their versions. So lastly what will happen? It will get confused with each other. As we have already seen this kind of diagrams here, one example it is there how we are going to gather the requirements for this insulin pump software system. You can see here the system shall measure the blood sugar and deliver insulin if required every 10 minutes. So what you are going to do here? Changes in blood sugar are relatively slow, or so more frequent measurement is unnecessary. Actually, in your requirement specifications, if any kind of examples will come, then you can mention all the 4 case studies whatever we have done, and you can work out in that. You have to write in a tabular way, or if you want you can write. Now let's see what is the meaning of your structured specifications. So this kind of approach you can see while writing the requirements whenever you want, whenever there will be some limited writers or limited requirements will be there, and it has to be right in a very standard way. That is known as your structured specifications. You have to write all the requirements in a very standard way. And also it will have some of the different types of requirements like your embedded control system, where you can write the rigid for writing business. Like suppose if you have some kind of your rigid writing system, you have to write in a very in a proper technical words you have to use that, which is completely used for your business purpose. So that kind of also embedded systems you can use for your, you can make it as in also in a very standard way. That is known as your structured specifications. One more is there your form-based specifications. What is that? The definition of the function or entity, the descriptions of inputs, where they come from. These are your forms. What is the entity? What is the inputs? Where they have come? What will be the output? Where they should go? What are the informations? What are the actions has to be taken? Pre and post conditions you used to write, like a for loop and all you used to write. That is there, and also your the side effects if you are writing any kind of your functions. So this is nothing but your one type of your form based specifications. Now you can see the same thing, whatever the question was there as a case study, how you are going to write that case study in a very structured way, in a very structured manner, by providing all the specifications. Here you can see as how it has been written: insulin pump slash control software slash some number and some version name has been given. What is the function here? You need to compute the insulin dose, where which one will be safe for the sugar level. The description, how you are going to write down, it computes this and this delivered for this. Whatever the description you want to write about the computer insulin dose, you can write down. So what will be the inputs? You are going to give this input and that input. So what is the source from where you are going to find these readings? You are going to find these readings. This is the source. From the sensor, you are going to get the readings. So what should be the output? This is my output where the insulin dose has been delivered. Now what is my destination? My main control loop. Okay. So it will again go back and again start reading the functions. You used to write this kind of things in a programmatically way in your C programming and all, but here in the software engineering, we are reading how we are going to write in a algorithmical way. This is nothing but the algorithm of your insulin pump, whatever the case study we have studied. So in this way, you can get any kind of case studies, whatever we have studied already before, to write in a very structured manner. So in this way, you have to give these points and you are going to write it down. So here, one thing also after that, what you're going to write, the actions. What will be the actions about that? If you're going to give that kind of dose, then what will be the actions? What will be the requirements? What are the things you need to check it or to compute it? Then some preconditions, some conditions you are going to give, some post conditions. So if that is working out, then what should be replaced? If you are going to give the more dose about that, or you should leave like that. If you are giving, what will be the side effects? That also you are going to mention. Now let's see what is the meaning of our tabular specifications. So it is nothing but it is used to supplement your natural language. Whatever the natural language is there, it is going to supplement it. And also particularly it is going to use, or it is going to define the number of possible alternative course of actions. If you have already discussed about the actions, how you are going to take the actions about any of these specifications, then how you are going to take the alternative actions for that. Like how we have discussed about the insulin pump case study, there also we have written some of the requirements and the actions. So if you have any alternative actions in a tabular form, you can mention that actions. So this is a tabular specifications. These are the conditions. These are the actions. So if any kind of case study will be there, you have to prepare your tabular specifications. There will be nothing like you are going to see somewhere and write. You have to judge the case study and you are going to write all these things in a tabular form, that is known as your tabular specifications. Now let's see the use cases, how we are going to use the use cases, because these use cases also used to come in your exam for 10 marks of question for any kind of question. It can be your ATM use case, it can be your money withdrawn use case, anything. We will see the example also how it is working out. So this use case, what you are going to do, you have to identify one small part of your actors. You are going to check it out, the interactions about that, the description about that interactions, how it is going to utilize. And a set of use case you are going to describe whenever there will be some of the interactions. There will be one high level graphical model, and also there will be UML sequence diagrams. In high level graphical model, you have to write everything in your tabular description. But in your UML sequence diagram, you have to add the detail in the form of your use case, and you have to show the event how it is going to process. You can see here one example is that this is the use case of your Medcare system. You can get the question of write the use cases of the Medcare system, which one will be of your 10 marks of question. So how you are going to write down? You know that there will be the medical receptionist, nurse, doctor, and manager. So the medical receptionist should have the patient register and personal information. To view this personal information, there will be the manager who will, once the personal information has been written down, if he wants to export all the data or statistics of the data, he can export or he can generate the report. Similarly, there will be the nurse who will view the record, edit the record, and he has to, the nurse also view the record and edit the record. And there will be the doctor who is going to see the record, edit the record which has been given by the nurse, and also he is going to set up the consultations. And also he can see the reports, whatever will be generated by the manager. So this is nothing but this is an example of your Medcare system. This is, in this way you have to form the use cases. So there will be another question like how you are going to do the use cases for your insulin pump. There will be one more use cases for your weather station. So all these use cases can come for your 10 marks of question. You have to do the diagrams and you are going to explain it properly.